Welcome to Life with Strings Attached. I'm your host, Jamie Gale. In this episode, we sit down with visionary guitar designer Rapolas Gražys, a creative force whose instruments are as much about storytelling and emotion as they are about sound. From his studio in Lithuania, Rapolas shares how a childhood steeped in art, architecture, and nature led him to craft guitars from materials as extraordinary as amber, aluminum, and bismuth crystals. We explore the parallels between cooking and creativity, the tension between function and expression, and how narrative, sustainability, and beauty are embedded in every instrument he makes. Rapolas reminds us that music is a language, and every guitar can speak volumes. It was a pleasure to have Rapolas Gražys on the show. I hope that you enjoy it as much as I did. Rapolas,
Hi,
great
Jamie.
to see you.
Great to see
Thanks
you too.
for being on the show.
Thank you for hosting me. Pleasure.
Yeah, wonderful. That's a serious background. Lots of...
Yeah, it's I'm in my studio in Vilnius. It's like creative space where I'm doing all my creative work here and playing at the same time guitars and chatting with the customers. And it's a man cave.
Great. And how are things there? How's life?
It's thank you. It's pretty intense actually. Having a lot of work to do, a lot of creative processes involved in having two kids now, and it's like 2 on 2 and working and trying to cope with everything in one row. It's not hard, it's intense, a lot of responsibilities to take on me, but I like it. It's more focused, more, wrapped up everything and just, doing my stuff. How are you?
I'm good. You're a designer, and a designer is never more focused when they have a problem to solve. Yeah, we love having problems to solve. Yeah,
definitely.
That's when we're most alive.
Give me one.
Give me something to work on. I'm a solutions guy. Yeah, exactly.
It's actually it's sometimes I think that it's like a curse for me, but sometimes it's good because when it's into you solving problems, it's everywhere and you are always trying to look of them, and sometimes you're becoming a problematic guy, where you are like, give me the problem, I will solve it, and then if there is no problem, you are looking for the problems, and then trying to do that. It's overthinking sometimes, but it is how it is.
Yeah, but then we design a solution for that too.
Yeah.
Right? Like we design a solution for the overthinking. We design a solution for being too busy. I do ridiculous things in my life now. I'm almost 50 years old, and I find myself designing inefficient processes into my life to intentionally slow myself down.
Yes.
So I don't own a toaster, but if I make toast in the morning, I put it in a cast iron frying pan, which for some reason I enjoy the process of just methodically heating the pan, getting it to temperature, putting the bread in, flipping it over. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. It's inefficient, but I enjoy the inefficient process, and here in our home, we don't have a real kitchen.
Okay.
Right now, and I'm in our Italian home, and there's so many good restaurants, and food is so good and such a low price here in Italy that I design the fact that I have to leave my office at least 3 times a day. So I have to walk, I have to move, I have to go somewhere, because otherwise I can go through an entire day and just work in my problem, dealing with whatever I'm currently designing or working on, the business concept, the promotion, whatever it is we're doing. And I don't get out then. And so I design problems in my life that I have to leave to go eat a few times a day to design movement into my process. You know what I mean?
I definitely know, because kitchen actually, like kitchen cooking in general, and it's very related with my life. I'm from young age. I wanted to actually be a chef, not a guitar designer, maker, or something like this. I wanted to be in the kitchen and to cook and to cook for my family. And now I am getting from my work to home, I see my family, I see the table, and I see that I need to do the serious job to feed them and in special way and doing some interesting stuff. So kitchen for me is a creativity also studio there. And you're saying that you are going out because you need to free your mind and I love to go actually to the shops and to buy goods for what I will prepare for the evening, for example,
Mm-hmm.
or for Saturday and Sunday meals.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like contacting with the persons who are selling you the real fruits, or vegetables or meat, fish,
Mm-hmm.
and it's beautiful thing, and it's actually connecting with the guitars also. So for me, like musical instruments is the same as being in the kitchen. You are like putting a lot of stuff and cooking one meal, and you can change the sauce, and it will be a little bit different, and that will be okay. So always improvising, and the same improvisation actually what I'm doing in design perspective and in art.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the same in the kitchen. I do not like to make meals from recipes. I'm reading them,
Mm-hmm.
but I am always something changing from my perspective that I would like that my family would like, friends. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
totally agree
Mm-hmm.
with you. It's some sort of meditation after hard work in
Yeah.
studios. And
You know, I don't want to give the people the impression that I don't cook. Actually, I love to cook.
yeah, of
Like
course, I
you, I do.
understood. Yeah,
And my house in Canada, it's 2 hours to the closest restaurant that I actually want to go and pay for.
yeah,
Otherwise, I do a much better job at home.
of course.
And so, in Canada, I go to the butcher and I go to the produce and I get the ingredients and I make things. But even then, these days, I'm making more simple things. So it's very normal for me to make just a good fillet with a
Yeah.
butter and sage and a nice bottle
Mhm.
of Amarone. No extra potatoes, no extra nothing. A piece of meat,
Real deal,
butter,
real
sage,
deal.
and
Yeah,
red wine.
yeah,
3 minutes per side. Perfect. But I still take the time to heat the plates and heat the cutlery because I don't want cold cutlery on the.
yeah,
And I take the time to let the Amarone breathe. It's still a process for me. I still really enjoy it.
yeah,
I just meant to say that there are times when we get so busy because I think people. I know you understand this because I've known you long enough to see that you constantly fill your life with new possibilities. And so the moment we get more time, we don't want to sit on a beach and do nothing. We
yeah.
immediately think, "Oh, I have time for this new project, this new thing to
Definitely.
do." You
Yes, yes.
know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
just interviewed Jim D'Addario, the from the D'Addario String Company,
Yes.
and he's taking a sabbatical. And you know what he's doing? He's project managing a build for a new house.
Okay.
That's his sabbatical. He's gonna
Yeah.
he's gonna build a house.
I'm actually in a bit similar situation actually. So we're thinking about the family house and everything,
Hmm.
and involving the Lava Drop studio near to of the creative, like the space will be placed there, But it's a very big project, and here in Lithuania we have a lot of bureaucracy where the documentation takes a very long time, and when you have area and land, which is in a very beautiful place, but there's a lot of restrictions there, and some crazy ones, and not very thoughtful ones. So yeah, so you need to take time for this, and be 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 in that mood of doing something else while waiting.
Yeah, yeah. Wonderful. So I have some questions for you because your work is a lot around materials, and you talk a lot about materials in your literature on your
Yeah,
website. You talk about I'm literally going to read it here. You talk about the harmony of whispering nature,
yeah,
and you talk about the materials and the maple, the ebony, the millennia old amber, volcanic rocks, precious metals. You say all these natural elements are fused and shaped in a well balanced drop, an elegant art piece which resonates the warmth of wood, the solidity of rock, and the sonority of metal. You work in materials that very few have worked with in the guitar industry, and very few would think to work with as far as resin materials are concerned. We talk a lot about tone woods in the guitar industry, but of course, every material has a resonant value.
Definitely.
Everything is a tone something. I've watched people take a piece of rock, and you put the rock in the right shape, the right thickness, and you put it on two nodal points, and you can make a rock ring out.
Yeah.
But people don't think of it this way. They think about very specific materials. So I want to know more about that. How did you arrive at this point of trying to express yourself with these very unusual and frankly very complicated materials to work with? Like, you don't just pull out a chisel and work on a piece of amber or a piece of meteorite. This is you made your life much more complicated to do so. Can you bring me into the process with that?
Yeah, so it's everything connects actually from what I'm doing and what I've done before creating guitars. And I don't know if this is the question about my childhood and how I've developed everything to this one, but I think it's involved in the situation, and it wraps up everything, because creating guitars now, and I've started this doing like professionally around 11 years ago, on 2014. The first Lava Drop came out, and from that till now I'm doing this. But before that, I've done a lot of different kind of things, and one of them was if we are not talking about guitar, so I'm a Boy Scout, Scout Eagle. If I'm in Lithuania, it's called Vytis. So it's one of the top scouts rank in Lithuania. But it's not about that. It's a little bit different, and more about being yourself, and in some situations that you can involve in and being in nature actually, and being in community and helping each other, and sacrificing some time for that. So nature was my idea of everything. So I love to be in nature, and I love to do that from my childhood. So when I'm being in nature, I love to touch things, I love to grab sticks and burn fire, and at the same time playing with the guitars and with friends, and somehow building that community. But when you are not around some screens, and you are not around some intense works, the nature is healing you in a lot of ways, a lot of possible ways. Fishing, camping, being with friends, just being alone, and having your thoughts and inspiration from that. So this was from the early ages. And somehow it related with the guitars, because okay, so back to the basics.
Let's put a pin in that question.
Yeah,
for
because
a
it's a
second.
big question.
We're gonna come back to that.
Yeah.
So let's dive in. All right. So let's get some backstory here. You want to talk about the backstory? Let's do it anyways. Let's just go deeper in. So
yeah, because I think I will connect those things.
And when were you born, and to whom? Tell me a little bit about where you grew up, your family, and the moments in life that you think if you took those moments away, maybe you wouldn't be who you are today. And I think the Boy Scout part is part of that. And so let's go right to the beginning. Where and when were you born, and to whom? Who are your family?
Yeah, so I've born in Vilnius, Lithuania, after the regaining the independence of Lithuania in 1991. I am 34 now years old. And I've born in an artist family of well-known actual artists, but more contemporary graphic artists and actors, like combination of different kind of, and my other a bit of family generation is architects. So I've been in that some sort of bohemic family, born in it. But I've always wanted to be some sort of a bit grounded person, not just thinking about transcendentic artists, but in a good way. And from my childhood, I remember around 3 years old, my father and I were looking at the RoboCop series, and it so grabbed me. so grabbed me in terms of technical issues about the robotics things and everything. And at that time, I remember the signature in the advertisement after this show, which were the guy. I don't know if you remember it. I cannot recall the symbol of it, but I think maybe you can recall it. There's a guy holding the guitar and spinning around like this. There was in a black screen, white logo, something like this, and it somehow programmed me about going to the music in some sort of life. So just a neuro-linguistical programming from that age. I'm just recalling it now.
At the end of RoboCop, there's
Yeah.
there's a graphic of somebody holding a guitar.
Maybe at the end, maybe in the beginning of it's 90, so I cannot recall it exactly. You know,
I'll have to look it up now. Yeah.
Yeah. I've tried with ChatGPT or something like this, but they are not giving that visual to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've always, you know, as my father and my grandfather, they are well-known artists, and they have also studios. So as I am now, so I am, you know, in our family, we all need to have space for ourselves to put our thoughts in it and just be in it and just run away from everyone and just, this is my place, you know. But I've been in, and from father perspective, I've always was listening to rock and roll music, Led Zeppelin, you know, AC/DC, Queen, ZZ Top, you name it, you know, Guns N' Roses. After that, Red Hot Chili Peppers and so on. And being with my grandfather, I've learned some crafting skills. I've made some boxes, guns from wood, and he always wanted, you know, also to craft some things. So that craft part came from my grandfather, and being in that studio space and connections, learning about them, the mechanics, you know, gluing wood to wood. Yeah. So this is how it went. Then after that I went to scouts and being there from early ages till you know now, actually, because if you're a scout, you're always a scout. Yeah, I started playing guitar at 12 years old. We from the family, we do not have any musician in our family, and somehow the guitar grabbed me, and I thought about it, and just guitar, no piano, no violin, no nothing, no trombone or something like this, just guitar, and somehow it grabbed me, and so much that I've learned about that guitar, and I've started playing in the bands. So I've figured out how to play with the guitar. I've learned. I didn't went to any music school, but I've had some teachers, and I was playing with acoustic guitar. Then I went to electric guitar, and we created, when I was in high school, we created a band called High Definition Music, and it was like a combination of fusion jazz together with rock and some jazzy vibes. And it was from that beginning, I've started to making solos. We made some records, not wide records, but we just recorded music. We didn't release any album, which I'm a bit depressed about it now, because it was a good music actually. And when we are listening now, sometimes we cannot play what you've played before, because it's from the emotion that you cannot control. You know, when you are growing up, you want to showcase yourself, and at that time you just, what you had, you know, you expressed yourself, and that's it. So from High Definition Music, we've split it up, and me and my soulmate Gediminas, we joined together in a duo band, 2 guitars, something like Rodrigo and Gabriela, if you know them, making like flamenco style guitar, and on top they're soloing. So I was the solo guy, and Gediminas was like rhythmic guy, and we played for many years together. And after that, I've went to, and actually the nature comes in now. So I went to the post-modern folk Lithuanian music group called Sensvaja. And we were like 3 girls, me, and sometimes joining with other guys, making some traditional but transcendentic postmodern folk music of Lithuania. And I were creating the music for them. And we were from going through all the biggest Lithuanian festivals, playing on stages. And I gained that, not just the confidence, but the way of feeling what is the stage actually, and what is being on the stage, and the responsibility you are taking in with your instrument and with what you are doing and what you are playing. So actually it grabbed me in the heart of playing with that guitar for more than what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And at that time, I went to Vilnius Academy of Fine Arts, and I saw that I want to make something in industrially way more than just being just an art guy. It's nothing bad about that, but while I was born in that family, it was a bit too much for me, and I've gained that confidence in art industry and had that free mind spirit, but I needed something like the ground thing, and to create something that you can, touch, feel, and you can use it in a daily life. But I've never gone out of it. So I was thinking about architecture. I was thinking about maybe a kitchen, working in a kitchen and being a chef, but it never happened to me in a professional way. But product design was one thing that I've applied, and I've went to it straight away. And through that time, I've come to the guitar making because my bachelor project was a guitar, the first guitar that I've created in 2014. And my tutor said, "You're playing guitar. Why you don't want to create a guitar for the bachelor project?" And I thought about. I was a bit scary because I was playing for a long time with the guitar. And I knew some things. I was also constructing some, neck joints and something, because I had a Stratocaster that my father gave me, the first one, the inspiration from Jimi Hendrix. It was my first guitar made in Mexico. And I've always something to do with that guitar, making leveling and making some string adjustments and everything. But I've never dived into the crafting stuff of the instrument. And it actually was very scary for me, but very tempting. And from that moment, I had a half of the year of creating the instrument, because I was also in Danish Royal Academy of Fine Arts studying for a half of the year with masters in architecture. And I came back to Lithuania and started doing this project. And I finished it with the first lava drop, which was a drop-shaped lava drop, but with fretless idea, and connecting the old instruments like oud, like rahab, from East countries together with pop culture and classical instruments in one instrument. And that idea came to me just by looking through instruments, because instrument involves a lot of attention of details, a lot of attention of expression, and the same, experience what you can do with it. So after that, I finished bachelor, and I went to masters, and my masters was to talk about cooperation with sound and design in the interdisciplinary approach, and to connecting how these things work together. And at that time, I've created the Lava Drops brand, and I've created 3 instruments, additionally 3 instruments. 3 of them were different, but in the same lineup of Lava Drops. It was very important for me that I would not create some different kind of instruments. I was creating 3 different guitars, but in the same Lava Drops lineup, which had, the design perspective, which nature came in afterwards. And it was, connecting human with nature through instrument, like a mediator. Because I feel that when you are playing with the instrument, you can actually connect with it. And it's not just about, a tool for me. The guitar is not a tool. It's more a expression, and expression not just for you, but for others. So I'm very fascinating of doing this job of creating instrument that you can create a thing, and the other guys can be inspired with, and it's like a 3-dimensional structure, but not in the object way, but in the expression way. And it has more than, a chair or a table or something like this, which it works like a tool. It works like a beautiful table and thing, but which I was creating actually before that, before creating guitars. And in a couple years of creating just guitars, not just guitars, I was doing a lot of product design stuff for companies, working with jewelry, with lighting designs, with some technology aspects and products, and creating product design actually in actual way, a professional way. But somehow guitar grabbed me so much because it involves a lot of in your life and in human lives. And yeah, and I am doing it till now. So yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. So you did industrial design and you did a master's in architecture. Is that correct?
I've did it was a I've ran with a half a year of program in bachelor third grade first semester.
Okay.
Then I came back from Denmark and finished my bachelor with the guitar, and after that I started 2 years of masters of product design also, but just involved in connecting design and sound and creating the brand.
Okay. Yeah. You mentioned something about architecture.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing where you are? Architecture and industrial design? Is it under the same school?
Yeah, it's the same school. We have classes of architecture, but the architecture is, for me, it's the inspiration point. I can work with some small scale architecture things. I'm very interested with, but I am not that kind of professional that I can really. I'm more in a conceptual way, not maybe engineering part. So the conceptual way, everything is okay with that. But when we're going to engineering part, you need to be have a lot of experience and programming. It's a little bit different from my side that I'm doing now.
Yeah. No, I understand. So here in Italy, there's no the industrial design education is an architect's education.
Yeah.
And you see many famous industrial design products which have architects' names on them. I have some beautiful knives in my kitchen, which my sort of kitchen, but I still have very nice knives. Here, which are designed by an architect. The mocha pot, which is designed by an architect. These kinds of things here, and that it's not a fully separate education. Like in the USA and in Canada, you can go to school for industrial design or architecture, but they don't confuse the two. And so that's what I was wondering about your education in Lithuania. They're separate degrees. They're not combined like in Italy.
No, we have industrial design, we have product design, we like product and industrial design, we have fashion design, we have interior design also separate, but I don't know why, because I think that architecture, if you're a good architect, you can make interior by yourself, definitely. But the interior designers, I cannot say that never will do architect, but of course, if you have experience and passion for that, you will do. But it's a bit harder way because you are doing from the inside, you're doing outside, because I think that you should do everything in one. And then you have the huge and strong connection, and then you can inspire others to live in those houses. Because, when you are doing just interiors, everything is okay because the house is standing now and you are doing the interior. But I think that the stronger concept is when you are creating the house, and after that, like at the same time creating interior, thinking about how they will be living in and connecting also with nature. Because in architecture, being in surroundings, what is important, the most important thing, where is standing the houses, where are you creating it, and the other thing is about the lighting, where the light comes from. So the light is also important for the interior. So if you are not thinking about the interior, you will create light that will not work for the interior. Sometimes it could be working, but you need to know where will be standing the kitchen, or where will be standing the room, like master bedroom or something like this.
And sound. Sound is another part that the architects could be dealing more with. So one of our episodes from last year was with Zachary Bellinger, who is an acoustician and architect, but he works within acoustics. And his company is generally brought in to solve a problem because it wasn't well considered in the architecture architectural planning in the first place. So now they're asking for acoustic materials to come in and solve the horrendous reverberation often within a space. I've been a friend who owned a restaurant who moved from one location to the next, and the next location you couldn't hear the person across the table from you anymore, because he'd moved into a restaurant and hadn't really considered the acoustics of the space, and then found himself all stressed out because he spent now additional tens of thousands of dollars to correct the thing he didn't recognize in the first place, because having a conversation over dinner is a very important part of the experience. And so you have to control the sound and the aesthetics. And in the restaurant, he was thinking about the space and the aesthetics, but not the sound. Yeah. And the light, of course.
I love the touch what you came up with, because restaurants and acoustics, and I love what South countries, especially in Europe, are doing. They're not releasing the music actually. Usually, it's filled up with voices, a human perspective of talking, and the conversations between them, and some expressions what they're doing, and this is like a tone, and it's you cannot hear anything what they're talking, but it's like always like some sort of noise, but it's in a white noise, and it's a good noise. For me, it's calming noise. I also love vacuum cleaner noise. I can sleep with it, or the dishwasher. Like it's like it's inspiring you to think about it. It's the same as chewing a gum. You're always chewing a gum, but then your mind. I don't know. For me, I'm working as I love to chewing a gum, but not while talking with people, but because I can concentrate my mind while doing some constant thing,
repetitive.
Yeah. So
yeah. I think it's the same reason a lot of people like to ride bicycles or jog. There's this constant rhythm, and if they're thinkers, somebody who spends a lot of time in their mind, then there's just something to set their body in motion, which, occupies just enough to bring some sort of, what's the order? Bring some sort of order to the chaos. Yeah, something predictable. Yeah, I agree. We all have our tricks for this. That's why I love great food. I don't take a lot of vacations, but I will go to a restaurant, and a really great restaurant, one that, when you take a bite, it overwhelms your senses, and you close your eyes and you breathe different. You have no choice. It owns you now. It owns this moment, and I want that. I'll pay good money for that. to go to a place where I know I'm going to have that experience, to draw me out of myself. Yeah. Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop is your premier fretted instrument custom case maker, and we invite you to create a musical instrument case unlike any other, one that's unique to you. Every Cedar Creek custom case is hand-built by highly skilled craftspeople using only select woods, Providence Forge hardware, and premium instrument-friendly materials. At Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop, we are dedicated to helping you design the case of your dreams. Find out more at cedarcreekcases.com. As a guitar builder and a player, you have a sense for when something's working right. That's why so many of the world's best trust D'Addario. Unmatched tone, perfect intonation, and strings made to the tightest tolerances in the industry. That reputation is no accident. It's the result of 400 years of being obsessed with quality and innovation. D'Addario. When you know, you know. Are you serious about the business of guitar? Then you need to join us on Patreon. We're building a future where guitar makers are able to live prosperous lives making instruments that inspire the musical experience, which helps to create a more beautiful world. Where others who are passionate about the guitar can thrive, those who help in the promotion and resale, trade shows, writing of books and articles are supported as a valuable part of the community. A community where we explore with curiosity and encourage those around us in their endeavors. With a community effort, we can accomplish far more than we can individually. So let's be serious about your guitar business and join us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Jamie Gale Music. We are better together, so let's do this together. I love where we've been, and I'm excited about where we're going. This space is normally reserved for brands who make stories like this possible, like D'Addario and the Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop. If your company belongs in this conversation, let's talk. We partner with brands who value craft, culture, and the quiet power of a well-placed idea.
Yeah,
Okay, so
food and guitars are very related. I'm thinking about the concept of making food together with guitars. I have some good friends who are are like a Michelin chefs, and
mhm,
I'm thinking about the concept of connecting guitars and food in one,
mhm,
and make some presentations and talk about it,
mhm.
because it's so
Are they in
related, you know.
Lithuania?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're now
Okay.
from the last year, they won, like this year is the second year they are a Michelin star in the guide
Okay.
and in
Well,
the
not
Michelin.
every country has the Michelin system. That's why
Yeah,
I ask. And there's some countries, particularly in the fringes of Eastern Europe, like
hmm,
Slovenia,
yeah,
where there are some really fantastic chefs who
yeah.
the food critics say if there was a Michelin system, this person would have, 3 stars, but there is no Michelin there, so
We just
they don't
started
have
two
these
years
stars.
ago. We just started
Ah,
2 years
okay.
ago.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah. So that's
yeah,
why.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
starting to grow, market the Lithuania as one of those potentials from food gourmet perspective.
What
Yeah,
is what is the traditional food like in Lithuania?
it's a good question. It's a mix of meat, potatoes, and some. We have a beetroot soup, a cold
Mm-hmm.
beetroot soup. It's one of
Mm-hmm.
our
Mm-hmm.
national dishes. We have zeppelin. Zeppelin is it's like a potatoes with the meat inside, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
very heavy food, so not everyone likes it, especially the natives. We
Mm-hmm.
like it, but not very often, you know, working
Mm-hmm.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's involved a lot of meat, a lot of potatoes.
Root
We have some,
vegetables.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
vegetables. So
But the
it's
root vegetables, the beets and the potatoes,
yeah,
the
yeah,
onions, the
yeah,
ones that grow
yeah.
under the ground. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So
Wonderful. I
actually,
haven't been there
you
yet.
welcome always, Jamie. Jamie,
I look
please.
forward to it though.
I will show you around. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, you
Wonderful.
mentioned about those materials, and while we are talking, I'm recalling some thoughts about it. And
Yeah, great.
one way that materials are very important for me and working with them, that and what while I was studying in art department, like product design department, uh, I was never thinking about making copies. So that's why I'm started to make my own brand. I never
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be like a guy who's copying like Stratocaster. So Gibson's like of
Mm-hmm.
course the guys from Boutique Guitar Showcase or
Mm-hmm.
somewhere
Mm-hmm.
else, but this one concept, if I'm creating something, I'm creating from the ground, and I'm creating something not just totally different. Of course my guitars are related with guitars. They have strings,
Mm-hmm.
they have, you know, headstocks. uh, be-
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I've tried without the headstocks, and I can
Yeah.
create something like this, and that's fair, no problem. But it's
Mm-hmm.
related
Mm-hmm.
with that, but some sort of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
differentiation from the mass production, and looking forward in some way of presenting you differently and be unique. It's very important for me. And
Mm-hmm.
being a bit of jazzy player in that field, I like that. And I found that materialism, not the materialism of the production and thinking about, but
Mm-hmm.
the material science, the connection in between different materials can create some new perspectives of what is an instrument, what is a guitar, and a technological issue, but in more expression of the human possibilities. And that's why I was actually there for a very long time. I was thinking, am I doing something right here? Because everyone is doing mass production here, and they're doing great. They're doing copies. They're doing in China, in you know, South Korea,
Mm-hmm.
Indonesia, and everywhere else. And I'm here just sticking around and making some thoughts about what is the instrument from my perspective. But
Mm-hmm.
through that time, I gained the confidence of being a unique, and showing off some instruments that it's like an happening, not just an reproduction of the instruments, but like a look, we've done this. It could be created in that way, and it sings and it sounds nice and sounds different, and it
Mm-hmm.
sounds, and if you want it, you can have it, you know. So I like that, and I like to create stuff. I'm a gear guy. I love to be in that field, and that's why maybe those connections of materials attracted me so much, um, and
Mm-hmm.
gave me the perspective. And if we will go dive more in that, you can talk about each material differently, and there's a lot of concepts we've done with the materials. I've collaborated with jewelers, with wood guys working with it, of course, with the guys that are looking for rare materials, very rare materials. The guys were growing crystals, and then you can apply them to the instruments. But these are more from the art series of lava drops. Of course, I have like 3 series different, expecting different customer for them. So we have more usual ones, more custom made instruments, and more art series where actually those materials are being presented.
Yeah. And so can you, maybe it's too complicated, but can you explain your overarching sort of theory of materiality and sound, so that when you look at how you would approach a piece of wood versus a piece of amber or a piece of meteorite or something of the sort, how you theoretically work through that in your mind? Do you have that worked out? That's a complicated question. So, but I'm always working to understand things in the most simplified term, and almost, thinking every day about Brancusi's simplicity is complexity resolved. And so I look at the complex situation, and I only arrive at the feeling of truly understanding it when I can explain it in the most simple of forms, as few words as possible. Do you go through a similar process, and do you have a structured way of thinking about the materiality of sound?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no, and depending on the material. So, for example, I'm using aluminum or aluminium. We can talk about it.
I'm Canadian. We speak
Canadian,
both. Yeah. We speak both.
So when you're joining, metal together with wood, for example, then it's a little bit different way of joining amber together with wood, or
Sure.
crystals together with wood. So the aluminium has that sense of translating the sound in a very good way, and it's one of those best materials in metal perspective that can, the sound, it goes freely, and you gain that sustain, and you gain that treble sound and higher tones from the metal one. But I've never wanted to make an aluminum or aluminium guitar. I just wanted to give a touch, a little bit sense of different material from wood, that the combination can be the warmth from the wood, and the more harsher tone, the more treble sound from the metal. And that combination drove me to create an X design model, which we won the 2019 the Red Dot Design Award, which was presented also at the Boutique Guitar Showcase in Nashville that year. So I love that concept. I love the shiny parts of the aluminum also. I was inspired also by there's a Japanese artist, I need to remember the name of it, but he's like creating sculptures of huge sexy girls around mirrors. It's like a Sorayama, I guess so. This is the guy, and I love the shiny part of it also. So actually the aluminium part for me works for 3 ways. So you're translating the sound through it more clearly. You gain the sustain. You give that more, I don't say power, but more clearliness for the instrument. And when you're putting some different kind of pickups, you can more clearly hear the tone differences. I think so. I've tested it, and it works for me. So this is the one way. The other way is you are attracting the lights on stages when you are playing with the aluminum. So for some reasons, for the players, it could be a funny way of thinking it, but for me, I am building guitars as not just not as symbols, but more like an attraction tool, because the guitar player should be seeable on the stage. So when you're going on stage and you have the headlights going on into you, and the million views are sticked into you, you are playing with a shiny guitar but not everything is shining, but the part is somehow attracting your eyes. And look, what is this? And I like that. And I like track attention through the instruments for the customers, for the players. And the third part is the balance, the ergonomics. So I've balanced, I have two shapes of aluminum, what we are using on the instruments. So one shape is like this, what you are seeing on the back of it's a new model, Infinite Drop. And the other one is like the X design, is more rounded and more wrapping all the body of the guitar. So the ergonomics is also working here, and having not neck dive, it also prevents fall. But it's not a very heavy thing. I'm using like numbers that are working for like aircraft and boat buildings. So it's more like in that sphere. So what we're talking about metal in this part, when we are talking about some unusual, very rare materials, very expensive ones. So there's the black amber, or just an amber. The amber itself, it's a 50 million year or more a structural pine trees fluid, like a sap, something like
sap,
this.
We say.
Sap, sap. That went out from like 50 million years ago and constructed in the sea, and now it's washing out from the sea after the storms, and you can grab it like big or small pieces of it. And you can, in Lithuania and in Baltics and in near the Baltic Sea, actually Chinese guys also are working with this, but they have a little bit different kind of materials in that part of way. So they're are into European amber. So amber itself, it's more for jewelry. In Lithuania, we have some not very nice, but guys are making some paintings from amber, and we do not like it. It's like a very kitschy thing, but for some reason tourists love them and they buying them. And for us Lithuanians, amber is it's nice, but it's sometimes too much because we have a huge history about it. And we are coming back with the idea why I created the amber guitar, and it was around 2016. And I was invited by Abu Dhabi, the royal family from UAE. Somehow they find me on the internet, and what you use, like creating something very unusual. And we were inviting you to one of the biggest exhibitions of exclusivity, and there's like Fabergé egg, like Lamborghinis that you never saw opening with your clock. Some huge robots, 20 meters and walking, and it's like crazy stuff. And they asked me one thing: if you are going there, you need to create something very unusual that represents your country. And I had like around 1 year to prepare for the exhibition. I thought, it's a good approach to showcase yourself. And I came up with the idea of using amber. And at that time, I was also creating a jewelry collection for my just my brand, not the Lava Drops, but just my personal brand. And I was working with some jewelers who are working with ambers as a jewelry material. And I thought, why not to use it for the instrument? Because they used special material to compress the amber, to melt it and compress the amber. Some autoclaves, some sort of thing. And I was so interested in that I've gained some of the amber from them, and we've made it here in Lava Drops. And the concept was not to just put the amber on top of the wooden shelf, like the wooden body, and make it like a shelf thing. I wanted to make the full body of amber resonating the guitar, or like otherwise. The guitar is made actually from amber. So we've put 2.5 kilos of amber. So it's like 4.4 point something in pounds. And we've filled everything with a 5 millimeter rim of mahogany, and just the neck was neck through construction, but of course the neck was from the wood, and we've put the ebony on top, and it sounded actually, I never knew how it will sound, so that's why. That's the idea. I never knew, but I needed to test it, and somehow it sounded brilliant for myself because it was a very clearly sounding instrument that reflected like when you're playing with the instrument of that particular instrument, you are feeling everything on your body, and the resonance. It's the amber there works as a stone, and it resonates really, really well. And but it's very expensive to make it. It takes a lot of time to make it. We've done 2 of these instruments. They're now going all over the world and collecting the stories and ideas, and it's my some sort of heritage to live in.
Well, we had one of those guitars on tour with us in the Boutique Guitar Showcase.
Yes.
At one point, and I remember being in France, and Julien Bethune, who writes for the French magazines and helps host our event, he records some videos with certain guitars while he's there. And I asked him, any guitars stand out for you tonight? And he said, with a silly look on his face, is actually the best sounding guitar tonight was the amber one. And he was surprised. He was like, but it was like for him, like it was like, this is, and it's interesting because I think he's really drawn to vintage kind of instruments typically, and this is very much not a vintage kind of instrument. Well, I mean, it's old, but it's not a vintage style of instrument.
It's the most vintage guitar.
The most material.
Material perspective,
and so I can attest to the fact that it really did appeal to a traditional guitar player, that it really did work. And so it's and of course those are the things that excite me the most when I have a chance to interact with people who are making guitars, a chance to show those guitars, and people approach them like, what is this? No, it can't be. Does it sound any good? So try it. And we take these instruments around the world for people to interact with and to open their minds. And the best part of the night for me always is to have someone who was very skeptical walk away from the event going, wow, that was an amazing experience. That was an amazing guitar, because they didn't think it was possible for whatever experience that happened to be, and
I don't think so too. I before that creating the instrument, I didn't thought that it would be possible, because it's some sort of very fragile material. Not very, actually it's not very fragile when it's constructed and melted together, and it's like a rock, steady rock. I worked with some very soft materials, and we've done some instruments here from kyanite and bismuth crystals. So kyanite more is like a mineral, and bismuth is like more. You can grow this crystal at your home, but it takes a lot of time and everything. But it's very beautiful, but very sensitive and a bit of radioactive. And those things are very. I'm very interested in those. Wow, what is the story behind those things? And actually, what you're asking, how I am attracted to those materials and how I am connecting those, it's about the story. It's about, I think, we're creating instruments that, that can tell story about customer or about the customer experiences, and you can tell those through the instrument. You can tell about it. So there are a couple of stories. So one story was I have one customer who has around 10 lava drops. And all of them are behind with some different stories. And one is, okay, we've done this guitar, we've done the yin and yang style guitar, we've done, Meteorite guitar, but in other way, a chameleon type guitar. Now we need to do something in totally contemporary art scene guitar, that would not be just playable thing, but more like a conceptual installation, but it will look like a guitar. But the main idea behind this guitar should be how to connect passion and destruction in one guitar.
Passion and destruction?
And destruction, yeah.
Okay, tell me more.
And I don't know why, because he had some harsh times in his life. But he's so passionate guy. We love to catch up with the ideas and where the world is going now, and he's traveling all over the world. But he's also investing in guitars and looking at it as an investment point and as I don't know, like self-expression. And and this particular project was very interesting because we created a guitar neck through construction. We used the pale moon ebony as an exotic, some sort of piece for the instrument, but it was constructed from a unibody construction using the Wengi wood, which is actually a very heavy wood, but we've used it and made from a unibody construction, and we filled up with bismuth crystals. And the idea was, when you are, creating, the crystals are growing from the visual is that the crystals are growing from the guitar, the exterior, and just moving like, I'm the same as I am now putting the arm, and trying to go outside. And yeah, and this somehow grabbed me in that way that, you can see the instrument. It's so tempting to play. You don't know how it will sound for you in your hands, but if you will play with this instrument, it could hurt you in the first place, and you can hurt the instrument because the bismuth crystals are very, very sensitive. And somehow this concept just grabbed me because we've also created the headstock, and from the headstock is also growing the crystals. And the same concept was applied to the kyanite crystal. So different coloring, different expression of using these materials, and a bit different sound wise. They're very clearly sounding, too much actually clearly sounding instruments. The heavy ones, definitely, but as they're conceptual art pieces, they can be like this. Yeah, and one of them was lacquered in 50 million years old amber dust lacquer, which we can do. So yeah, everything is like connected in some sort of way.
Yeah. I didn't experience those instruments in person, but I did see photographs, and the photographs were wonderful. The color was fantastic. I don't remember which crystal it was, but the color was a sort of, if I recall correctly, sort of a bluish sort of.
It's a kyanite mineral, and the bismuth, it's like from green to blue to yellow to it's like a bit chameleon style of it. And the meteorite. The meteorite is a bit different material. I also had some customers who approached me and said, "What can you do the most interesting material on Earth?" So I thought, why not to use it an earthly material for the instrument? And of course, at that time, I was also working with some jewelers who are working with some meteorites. And we've created some of the guitar parts. And I'm actually now developing an instrument also involved with a meteorite, which parts will be the main parts of the guitar body will be crafted from meteorite, representing the cosmos in Earth and the sound that goes through the unearthly materials. So the string touches those things, like the bridge and the nut. Should be made from these, also with frets, which are crazy thing to do. I am a bit going to the concept here behind, but I think we will do that somehow in some way. And I think it could be a nice and interesting project to make it and work with it.
Yeah, wonderful. It's our superpower as humans is narrative and our ability to pass on the story. I have some people who are very I don't want to say simple in their way, but sometimes they say, "Jamie, aren't you making too much of this?" And I say, but don't you want to go deeper? I'm insatiably curious. I always want to know more. I want to know the origin. I want to know where it can go. And so the moment we dive into something, we want to go back to the start, and we want to take it as far as we can take it. Where is this headed? What is the ultimate destination? What is at least the direction? Are we aiming, and things that are aiming up, I say, which is, when I say it out loud, is ridiculous. But the point is, you're aiming to a higher order, to a higher goal, something you may not even be able to achieve, but the direction is in this way. And to be able to conceptualize and communicate that to one another through our language, both written and spoken, is the superpower of humanity. You know, I've been reading a book on the origins of intelligence recently, and he builds up from the intelligence of a single-celled creature, the very first intelligence, which is just simply perception and movement, to move towards things that are good for you, to move away from things that are bad for you.
Yeah.
It's that simple. That's the beginning of intelligence, perception and movement. But eventually we get all the way through to the primates. And, the thing that separates us from the other primates is our ability to communicate story. So the other primates on Earth are able to observe and learn. Okay, that one is using a branch to dip into a termite mound and get the termites and eat from the branch. They're using a tool. But if you separate one of their young, or if the young is born away from the troop and never has a chance to observe this, they won't do that on their own. And the tool use is different from one tribe to the next. And even with humans, the tribes in Tasmania were substantially behind the tribes as far as evolution is concerned than the tribes in Australia, because the oceans rose, and about 8,000 years ago, the water became high enough where you could no longer walk on land between what is now known as Australia and Tasmania. The water level was low enough that you used to be able to walk between these places, and they were from one people group. But now, or 8,000 years ago, a long time ago, 8 millennia, the waters rose enough that it cut them off. And the groups on Tasmania were so small that they didn't have the benefit of so many different minds thinking about concepts and building upon them. That evolutionarily speaking, they were further behind than the tribes that existed on the Australian continent. And it's that storytelling. It's that collective. It's the fact that we have 7 billion people on Earth that can communicate to each other now, with the benefits of things like translation programs and such. I as I'm going around, I live in a place where I don't speak the language. I don't speak Italian. But if I can order food and do all of the necessary pleasantries. But if I need to communicate a more complicated message, I pull up my phone and I speak into the microphone, and it translates it for me, and they can read it, or I can press play and it will talk for me in Italian. And it's this storytelling. So what's the point, Jamie? What are you saying? So let me sort of try and tie this together now. The point is, not only is narrative important, narrative is perhaps the single reason that we've been able to accomplish what we have as humans, is our ability to communicate story to each other in a way that no other creatures on Earth can communicate, across cultures, across time. It's about narrative. So when you make a single object which is rich in narrative, and someone says, "Aren't you making too much of it?" I'd say, perhaps you're making too little of it.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. Yeah, I think so too. And actually, if we are not talking about the narrative of just the connecting through language or the story, just taking the basic thing of the playing with the musical instrument, it's also a language. And when you are talking, you are not satisfied sometimes with your language in some other countries, and you need to have additional phone or something like this for program. You can just play a guitar with other musicians and you can connect through this. So like in South countries, there's a lot of gestures, a lot of expression in talking, and through that expression you can understand something very clearly, and sometimes more clearly than words. And I love making instruments or objects that create that sense of expression, and not just a tool, but additionally, of course, the uniqueness of the instrument should be also involved with, first of all, ergonomics and comfortably using the tool. But the third part should be somehow additionally, the styling, because the styling is a little bit different from everything. But the expression and it could be grow from the engineering part of the instrument, and you can leave that engineering part, which will be beautiful, attractive, and expressive for the customer or guy who's using it. So it attracts, and firstly you are seeing the thing, you are being attracted, and then you are playing with it. Not different. So I think in that way, it's like a cars. I'm always talking that guitars are so related with cars. That's about expression, passion, freedom. And I always loved some small companies that are building cars in the family business. That's why I thought, or making boats, for example, yachts, and some other things, and bicycles, because it's not very actually. Some of them are productive and well worth businesses, but some of them are like on the edge of extinction. But they are making everything in a family, and creating something unique, something for talk, like you were saying, like making something for the conversation, on the table, and this is what drives me the most.
Yeah. Last year I visited Pagani near Bologna. They make 50 cars a year, little less than one per week, and every single one of them is completely, well, I mean, the body shapes you can choose from, but I don't think they've ever created two Paganis that are exactly the same, because they're always for what the customer really wants. But he has a way that's similar to, actually, there's some similarities between Pagani and your work, because the Pagani has exposed aluminum and he doesn't polish it. It's left a little bit raw, and you see the engineering, like you talked about. The gear shift in a Pagani, the hinges and the movements are all exposed to be seen. They don't cover it up with a piece of leather or rubber like many companies do. I mean, I'm sure it's very dangerous for small children, but I don't think there's any small children in the front seat of Pagani anyways. But because you could definitely stick your fingers in there and have a problem. Yeah. But they have this really great, the thing that I walked away from Pagani with that I thought was so fascinating was that the design aesthetic with the mixture of old world and new world materials, because Pagani are carbon fiber cars bodies, and in the back they have luggage which is carbon fiber with like tanned leather straps and buckles on them. Yeah, I mean, it's nonsense, right? Like it's ridiculous to put leather straps and buckles on this highly advanced material and methodology, but it brings a humanity to it. And the thing that when you look inside a Pagani is it's really hard to tell when it was made, because it's this mixture of leather and industrial exposed mechanics and super modern materials. And so to put a time period to say, oh, that's a 90s or that's a 60s or that's a whatever is really hard to determine because of this mixture of materiality.
It's very nice theme that you talked about it now. It's about the longevity of the products, and I so much adore, like in the design, and I'm now constantly looking for some of the objects that can be living through ages and centuries sometimes. So for example, creating an instrument, in the beginning, I actually started with the Kickstarter campaign. And are you familiar with this platform?
I know the platform, but I didn't know that you started with the Kickstarter.
Like I not started, but after my master's, I've done a Kickstarter, and it was successful. And I was one of those guys, one of those first guys started Kickstarter in Lithuania. After that, everyone called me, how did you do that? What is the success in that? We didn't earn and raised a lot of money, but I've sold some guitars, and I was very satisfied because I've used that platform just to spread the word about that something is new going on, and I've created there a guitar that is a laser controlled guitar. So I've created a first in the world laser controlled guitar that you can use your arm in the air and just wave and change the pitch of the chord or the note. So I was working with some of the guys. It's like a theremin or
like a theremin,
but it's not working like a theremin. It's a laser which you can program any sound you want, and you can wave your arm above the neck, and you can hold it with the chord, for example, any chord, and you can change the pitch of it. You can program the sound and put it on that chord. And we've made some of these guitars. We've sold them, but after that, I saw that it's so a lot of things going there. And at that time, back into that theme. At that time, people mentioned me that, oh, you're doing something like Apple. You're, going through now innovations. Everything is nice. And at that time, I was like vibed about it. I really loved creating something, related with some huge companies. But through time, I was thinking, okay, what's next? Because in this business, you need to showcase your new works each year or half of the year, like in this industry, and other company can knock you down in that way very quickly. Then you need to have a huge financiation. We need to have huge investments from investors and business angels, and you need to make it. And it's okay with that, and I wanted to do that. But at some sort of life, I thought, why not to make some instruments that can live forever and give it from generations to generations, and with the idea of connecting that nature perspective, that materialism that is working through the ages, and not plastics. I don't love plastics. We use some carbon fiber inside our necks to stiffen the neck, but we are not using plastics like plastics. And I love the longevity in that part of life, and not just making something that can be thrown away after 1 year. It's a sustainable business with what I'm in and what my team are doing here.
But isn't the problem with plastics that they last? So
Yeah,
if you
they
want something
last,
that's going to
actually.
last a long time, why wouldn't you want to use plastics?
I don't know. It's not so now. It's one guys are saying that plastics are also from the earth. The human built plastics from oil, from everything.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
but it's human touch on those things, like meteorite, like amber, like wood, like aluminium. Those are things that you can just take it out from the earth and just shave it out as you want, and you can put it in the instrument. The plastics, you need to. There's a lot of guys building those. And just talking about the cheap products, mass production. I also always thinking that I can create an instrument for the mass production, no problem for that. But there's a lot of them, such a lot of that you don't need to compete with them, because you can find an instrument for 100 euros, and actually it could play for you, and you can learn parts, and you can play in the festivals, for example. You can do that. But now it's a little bit different concept of something lasting forever.
Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop is your premier fretted instrument custom case maker, and we invite you to create a musical instrument case unlike any other, one that's unique to you. Every Cedar Creek custom case is hand-built by highly skilled craftspeople using only select woods, Providence Forge hardware, and premium instrument-friendly materials. At Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop, we are dedicated to helping you design the case of your dreams. Find out more at cedarcreekcases.com. As a guitar builder and a player, you have a sense for when something's working right. That's why so many of the world's best trust D'Addario. Unmatched tone, perfect intonation, and strings made to the tightest tolerances in the industry. That reputation is no accident. It's the result of 400 years of being obsessed with quality and innovation. D'Addario. When you know, you know. Are you serious about the business of guitar? Then you need to join us on Patreon. We're building a future where guitar makers are able to live prosperous lives making instruments that inspire the musical experience, which helps to create a more beautiful world. Where others who are passionate about the guitar can thrive, those who help in the promotion and resale, trade shows, writing of books and articles are supported as a valuable part of the community. A community where we explore with curiosity and encourage those around us in their endeavors. With a community effort, we can accomplish far more than we can individually. So let's be serious about your guitar business and join us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Jamie Gale Music. We are better together, so let's do this together. I love where we've been, and I'm excited about where we're going. This space is normally reserved for brands who make stories like this possible, like D'Addario and the Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop. If your company belongs in this conversation, let's talk. We partner with brands who value craft, culture, and the quiet power of a well-placed idea. One of my joys in my work is giving people opportunities to do things that they might not otherwise do. And so in the early days of the Boutique Guitars Showcase at the NAMM show, we always put out some art installations it draws attention that there's something different happening here in this space. It stops people in the aisles. There's 100,000 people at this show, and you have to get their attention somehow. And so to put out a very unusual, attractive piece or provocative piece, it stops people. And then they look and they say, well, what's past this? And it draws them into the space. Now, in the early years, I had already been working with a number of very creative guitar makers where I asked I gave them an opportunity to say, well, here's a place where you can do that thing you've always been talking about doing, but you didn't have a space to do it. You didn't know where it would go once you made it and such. And so let's do it for the Boutique Guitar Showcase at the NAMM show. And that allowed them to elevate their work. People like Michael Spalt were making really wonderfully artistic guitars, but had talked about doing installation pieces, but had no place or no reason to make the installation pieces. And so he would make it for NAMM. It would sell for him. It worked great. So we elevate his possibilities. But after a number of years of doing this, I had guitar makers who I did not necessarily associate as the people who would make, or who would want to make an installation piece like this. And a few asked me, and I said, well, send me a sketch and a concept and what you're doing. And I agreed. And they always blew my mind. It's like, I didn't know that this person had this in them. And that's really exciting to put something out there to create an opportunity for those who I knew wanted it, but then to inspire others who maybe didn't even know they wanted to do it until they saw it. And then they showed up and they had this happen. And this last year, this year coming up, actually, the show in January 2026, which will be the 10th Boutique Guitar Showcase, 125 years in NAMM. I did not personally select anybody to do the art pieces. I put out for the first time an open call to everyone who was going to be in the Boutique Guitar Showcase. And I had people apply to do this who I didn't think would apply to do it. I didn't expect it. And I've already agreed to which 4 people are doing it at this point in time. And it's really amazing to watch what happens when you give people a chance, an opportunity to do something. And so I have seen you display your works in contexts which are not the normal context. And you already talked about one. You talked about doing it in Abu Dhabi. And you talked about a Red Dot Design Award. What has been the role of these unusual opportunities? And did you seek them out or did they find you? And how has it influenced your work?
Good question. I remember one of those opportunities where I was invited as a key speaker at SolidWorks World 2019. SolidWorks is the Dassault Systems company, one of the biggest engineering 3D experience platform company, which has the 3D experience platform where you can work with 3D modeling, but also share ideas through the teams. They are more into the industrialization. They've made actually, I think, the Falcon plane, it's their product, and some other products. They're making the program which helps to create huge things. And we were using this program. One of the first lava drops was designed in this program after the sketches, because I'm always working with a sketch by my hand, and then I'm going to computer. Not everything made is by CNC. We're using just 20% of CNC and 80% of hand here on lava drops. But to fit the shape correctly and to have that case fitting perfectly and everything, and aluminum working perfectly, you need to have some sort of 3D programs that can help you in millimeters way of joining them. So I've used this program and starting from masters, and we've became a very good friends and partners from that. And they invited me as a key speaker on the stage, together with my friend Robert Semenyuk. He's a great guitarist from Lithuania, and we actually have very good friendship from the beginning of the guitars, because I showed him one of the first fretless guitars, and he just admired from the first playing style. He's one of the best guitarists in Lithuania, and just a great guy, and then we just had that connection of partnership, and always jamming together and then thinking about. And so I was invited there, and I've invited Robertas to just showcase my creation and lava drops. So we had this connection on the stage against 6,000 people and broadcasting through the world. And it was a huge excitement for me to be on that stage. The Lithuania, from that perspective, was very represented in that way of thinking forward and yeah, lava drops, some sort of nature combining with modern technologies, what they are doing also. So that connection gave me the opportunity to more present the instrument, not just in the guitar world, but more in the technological world, more in technological exhibitions, because at that time they also have that exhibition there of some innovations, of some sort of technological issues that could be solved in some of with their production. Yeah, so I remember this one, and we are constantly always partnering with them in that way. I was also invited to participate in Red Dot Design Award 2 times. So one time was the X, like not invited but applied to win the award, and we won like 2 times. So one with the X model, and the another time I've created a violin, 5-string violin for Lithuanian contemporary artist, violinist Laura Kmieliauskaitė, and she we won the Red Dot Design Award second time in 2021. And the third actually award that I received was in 2023, when I was invited from Lithuania, from Taiwan, to be participating in the Golden Pin Design Award, which is the biggest Asia design award through all over the world. So everyone can participate, usually in America and Canada and Europe, but this is mostly from China, Japan, and some Asia countries. 8,000 participants were there, and we won the best product design of the year with actually this piece, which was presented in Taiwan Design Museum Research Institute. So these opportunities create you some sort of differentiation from the standard audience to the audience that also playing guitars. A lot of people are in the technical industry and in design industry. They're also playing guitars, not just musicians are playing guitars. So that opened me some mindset of not just being in one stick around and just going through audience all over the world and finding some places. Furthermore, I was presented in Lithuania in some couple European art exhibitions, modern art, contemporary art exhibitions, as a pieces of possibilities of what art could be and it's actually a very long term and the discussions we had. Is the guitar an art piece or it's a tool? And for Sotheby's, for example, or other auctions, they are selling just collections, but they cannot sell something that is a little livable art at the moment in terms of tools. And I don't know why, because we have a lot of great art pieces in design and in guitar industry connected. So I don't know why it is, but somehow it is now. So yeah, so these things create possibilities and somehow opens the doors more widely.
Wonderful. Let's dive into that a little bit. I've had the same conversation with somebody from, I think it was Sotheby's also. We did a show a number of years ago during Miami Art Week and Art Basel, Miami. And I met with one of these auction house curators during this, and we talked about this, and she told me the same thing. She told me we can sell a collection of Eric Clapton, a notable person, a notable collection, that the pieces have some historical significance through either who they were owned by or the famous song they were used for, or something of the sort like this. But not as object themselves. And I spent a fair amount of time trying to work into the fine art world, because I had many artisans who were interested in this space. But in the end, I don't think it's a matter of if they are or if they're not. I think it's a matter of time. and that the market for design is not yet as sophisticated. So when we go to a design market, which there's actually a famous design market down the road from me. Here it happens in Pisa twice a year, and people from all over the world come to get famous Italian design furniture and objects here.
Yeah.
But those design pieces are within the last 50 to 100 years. But when we talk about the art market, we're talking about things that are, within centuries already and well developed and well popularized around the world. And I really think it's just a matter of time. In the same way that I think that guitar values, people talk about, ooh, that's too expensive. A working musician can't afford a guitar that's $10,000, which is the average price of a boutique guitar showcase guitar when on tour. We have guitars that are less, down to 3,000, guitars that are, 80 or 100,000, but they average at 10,000. But when I go to Nashville and I see musicians playing on the stage, I see someone playing an $800 Telecaster, an $800 amplifier, a $800 P-bass and an $800 amplifier, $2,000 worth of drums, $1,000 acoustic guitar, or maybe $2,000 acoustic guitar. And then there's a fiddle player there with a $10,000 bow. Then the fiddle or the violin, right? What's the difference? Well, the difference is 300 years. It's a mature marketplace where people have decided which ones are the best, and they're older and they've existed, and there's a rarity and access to market over this. And we just haven't had the time in the guitar market to establish the rarity like this. There are vintage acoustic guitars selling, in the hundreds, thousands of dollars, from 1930s, 1940s at this point in time. But eventually there will be something that we look at like a Stradivari, and it's a matter of time. And so I stopped trying to force the art market, and we just do what we do, and eventually they will come to us. I'm sure of it. And the auction houses will eventually come to us also. But you just have to, you can't force the law of diffusion of innovation. There's an uptake in the acceptance curve, and it happens. You can do your work to promote it, and I've done a lot of work to promote it. But it will still take time. So that's my perspective anyways on it. What do you think about the art market and design?
I've once applied to some of my designs too, and I remember I've received but it was official application, because in these kind of things you need to have connections, and then you can open the doors are opening more easily. But like talking about the auctions, I've received it was a longer time ago, like 6 years ago or something like this. And they wrote me a letter, like a very beautiful, structured letter. And in the end, you should be not living in this earth if you want that your art pieces would be sellable in our auction.
Right.
And what, I should kill myself or something like this to do that? Come on, guys. This is the guitar that played with, a lot of great musicians, well-known musicians. And I have some pieces that are played like for, I don't know, like 5 huge legends hold that guitar, played with it, and used in some, not records, but played a concert and some. I have the video footages of this, and let's do this. And yeah, we don't know, but it's not like the market. It's not, as you mentioned, acceptable yet, but it will be. I think that from the guitar perspective, always the guitar should be a guitar. It should be a playable instrument. If we're adding some art to that, it should be also an instrument for the usual human eye. And then we have, some sort of connection, but we have also the distance between, and it's very hard to communicate actually in this type of sphere. Are you a guitar maker? Are you an artist in general, a luthier? For example, for myself, I am not a luthier, as I don't want to be a luthier, like named as a luthier, because luthier is just working on instruments. Modern luthiery, if we're adding the word, yes, then you are adding the conceptualization, the production of different kind of materials, technological issues, and everything. And that's something that I am attracted to, And designer is like the name that makes everything, but maybe more creator, not just a designer, because designer is also have a theme of design thinking, and methods that you're eliminating everything and leaving the essence. I like that, but I sometimes like the expression to add something to that. And then what is about what it is? It's not just a designer; it's expression creator maybe, or just a creator. And then can you be a designer? For example, I remember Luigi Colani. I guess it's a German designer, but with the name of a bit Italian.
An Italian,
I guess.
yeah.
Italian, but he's from Germany. But he's from Germany, or was living in Germany. I didn't recall it, the history of it. But he was the first designer, which I think I was like 7 years old. I remember the red book my father had in his workshops, in his studio. And it was the first impression about the product design and the creator that one human can create a lot of different things, from automotive, from plane creation, from furniture to lighting and house appliances and furniture and etc. So it opened my mind, and everything was connected with the style of him. A lot of designers are creating, just things without their uniqueness, styles, or everything. Just companies approaching, create me a bicycle. I'm creating because it's the tax, because we're doing it for this type of consumer, and that's it. And sometimes, if you are going to artistic designer stage, you need to have your uniqueness, you need to have your style, and then you are becoming more like I'm not saying a legend, but you can build a legendary brand from that. You can be a one-person brand. From creating some sort of styling, and that styling can evolve in some phases. My father like he's always creating in phases. He, for example, paints in one cycle, then after a couple of years he's making another cycle. So you can say that this is his paintings, but it's a little bit different, and you are being approached because I want that particular artist painting in my house, or that particular design product in my house. And this is the quality, this is the essence, I think, of the uniqueness and what you can create. And maybe that in that way you can build, something that Sotheby's or Christians, like Christie's, I can order from.
Yeah. That's always evolving and changing also, right? I mean, it's 100 years ago, there was a raging debate whether or not a photograph could be considered art.
Yeah.
And now we don't discuss it anymore. Nobody debates whether or not a photographer can create art. But the concept is similar. It's a mechanical process. That's happening with the photograph. And in that same conversation I had with that Sotheby's or Christie's auction, I don't remember which auction house it was, to be honest, with the lady in Miami, when we discussed that, she also told me that recently they had sold a Jeff Koons piece for the highest amount ever for a living artist. And at the same auction they sold a Rembrandt, which did not get the same amount of money as the Koons piece did. And so here we go. Here's the dead artist, the Rembrandt. And Rembrandt is, I mean, you see Rembrandt and you know why we know his name. It's so remarkable, the work that he did, especially when you see in a historical sequence, paintings leading up, and then all of a sudden there's Rembrandt and you're like, holy shit, everything changed, right? Yeah. But it didn't catch the same money that the Jeff Koons piece did, who is alive and who runs a studio. The Jeff Koons has many people working for him. He's not, one person there. I mean, Rembrandt, I don't think painted by himself either. He probably had apprentices. But nonetheless, it's our ideas of this are constantly evolving and changing. And then what did the photograph do? The photograph forced almost the entire art world into abstract impressionism, because it was no longer about making real life, because you can't compete with a photograph for real life as a painter. That's now done. We've accomplished that in a completely different way. And so now we have to do something else with our painting and our sculptures, because we can represent real life now. And then scientists did photographs. I mean, I think I have right here. You know this? Harold Egerton,
Yeah.
the milk drop cornet. This
Yeah.
was a physicist who just wanted to understand how materials moved. You know, there's this famous photograph with the bullet passing through the apple, and there's apple going in both directions, but the bullet went one way. What's happening?
Yes.
Right? The
Slow
bullet
motion.
went one way.
Yeah. Yeah.
How is this possible that the apple's blowing out here and blowing out here? He did this for science. But guess what happened a number of years later? The MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art, wanted to show his photographs as art. And he said, I'm not an artist. And they said, we think you're an artist. The guy himself said, I'm not an artist. And now the art world is saying, yes, you are. The MoMA is saying, yes, you are. And they showed all of these photographs of this physicist who was doing this high-speed photography just to understand the physics of the world for what our human eye couldn't capture. And then we have to redefine art again. You know, when in the Armory exhibit in the early, 1912, 1915, sometime around here in New York, they came back with a bunch of modern art pieces from Europe. And Brancusi had pieces. It was Marcel Duchamp who went to Europe and brought them back. And Marcel Duchamp was an artist in his own name, but he came back with the pieces, and there's no tariffs on art. So now the government has to decide what is art or not.
Yeah.
And at the port of entry, they looked at Constantine Brancusi's minimalist sculptures and said, this isn't art. And they applied a 40% tariff and imported it as kitchen utensils and medical supplies. Brancusi was pissed, and he said to Duchamp, you have to fight this. And so Duchamp did, and Peggy Guggenheim, very wealthy art art collector and philanthropist of the Guggenheim Museum, eventually Peggy got involved and Duchamp got involved. They fought it in American court, and the court documents are hilarious. What the lawyers say about Brancusi's work, they say, Mr. Brancusi, if women look like this in France, you have our sympathy. That they're mocking him, for what these look like. And there's these court documents, photographs, where they've got a woman turned in a certain direction beside the sculpture so that Brancusi can communicate that this references the form of a woman. And now Brancusi is one of the most famous sculptors in history for modern sculpture, but he was denied by the government. The physicist was called art by the artist, even though he said, I'm not an artist. And so who gets to define what art is? And when the Brancusi case closed, they won, but they won because the US government was willing to rewrite the definition of sculpture to include his work, because the definition at the time said it was to mimic real life, persons or animals. And he was not mimicking real life. If the goal was to make it look like a real woman or a real deer or something, he did a shitty job, right? Which is why they said it's not art. So they had to rewrite the definition, and now we all accept it. And now we all accept photography. And yes, there are books on Egerton's not art. And one day I think that design objects from mocha pots to guitars will be recognized as valuable creative contributions that are collectible and high valued, like we do in the art world.
Yeah, I've actually catched up inspiration from Eames, the chair and
Yes.
the leg support from the World Wars. So those are actually where the historical approach of the industrialization, what they've done with the plywood and the bending thing, and they came up in the history. And I do not know if one of those could be production models that the ones are, maybe they were sold actually, because they're one of the famous industrial design family in
It was a husband and
world.
wife, the Eames family. Martha and Ray, was it? Ray Eames?
Ray Eames.
Yeah, but there's two of them, though.
Ray Eames.
Her name is Martha? Shit. I can't believe we're not getting this right. But anyways, the Eames.
Surname is the best. It's okay.
Yeah, they're still being made and sold today, but they're
Yeah.
owned by a larger furniture company.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
It's like heritage that you can, live after you and maybe being made and maybe being sold in Sotheby's, for example. Why not? Maybe it were.
Yes.
I do not know. Maybe we need to check it out. Yeah.
There's something of value for these. Historically, you could buy the new one, you can buy the old one.
Yeah.
I have a cocktail shaker in my bar here that I bought from the Italian market. That's from the 1960s. That same design is in production today. I can buy it at a shop in the town square where I live.
Yes.
Brand new, but for some reason the older one was cheaper also, but but for some reason I valued more the one from the 1960s, the original year of it, than I did the one being made later. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, but it's sometimes hard to find those things, And
yes.
I have a story of I was in China, in Shanghai, and and we've presented my guitars there, and I needed to play something because there was an exhibition where everyone's standing by their stands and no one is going around, and it's a little bit quiet exhibition because it was a furniture exhibition with the lighting and some jewelry inside, and also I was like from the design type of field and presenting lava drops there, and I've asked, come on guys, can you give me an amplifier? Yeah, somehow I got the amplifier and I started playing chords and rock and roll, a bit of movement, and everything. I've played for like a couple of hours there, just noodling around and then creating some atmosphere. But there were a big exhibition actually. Guys from one of the biggest companies who are reproducing the well-known designer products came to me and gave me this Philip Stark juice maker thing.
The juicing, yeah.
Which is inspired by the octopus, which he ate in the restaurant and draw it on the paper, and that's how this. And it's not very comfortable to do that, but it's a symbol of the free mind, and what you can do by inspiring from nature, actually. So owning something that it's connected with nature, with some sort of history and story behind, that's the thing. And I think owning a piece that is like a reproduction of this, but in a fabulous way, it's good. If you want to go more and have it in a value perspective, like an investment point, and if you find that, then it's a different way. But it's also the same thing. Just with the story behind, with the history behind, and with some legendary approaches.
Yes. Let me tie in this story and value for a second for something which shouldn't be valuable at all. So, and relates to the area of the world where you're in, different country, but on the Baltic.
Yeah.
All of the Baltic states sell amber things. You know this, right? And so as a musician, I was performing in Poland for a few weeks. And on our downtime, we were taken to a castle that was built by the Knights of the Crusade, and so this large castle there, and they had, like all tourist areas, a lot of amber objects for sale. And one of them was a chess set, which is kind of, appropriate at a castle. You have the rook and the castles and the knights, and, it's kind of war. And there was one made from, the black amber and the yellow amber, the different pieces and the tiles. And I thought, oh, I would like this. And it was a reasonable price. And so I bought it. And the old lady said, would you like me to wrap it? And I said, sure, So she took it in the back and she came out with a wrapped thing for me.
Okay.
I got home and I unwrapped it. I have the worst imitation of amber you've ever seen in your entire life. It looks like some sort of weird candy nugget. It doesn't look like amber at all. You can see the cheap plastic seams. It's even the wood they put the tiles in is just the shittiest work you've ever seen in your life. And it's displayed proudly in my home, proudly in my home, in my living room, because I got ripped off by an old lady at the castle of the Knights of the Crusade because of the story behind it. And it's this shitty ripoff piece, because in North America you don't hear very much of people getting ripped off by old ladies. But I learned very quickly when I visited like Tallinn, Estonia, and Poland and such. There are old people in the streets there trying to sell you watches and different things who definitely will rip you off. And
it's actually, but it's actually very interesting.
Maybe that's gone. This was 20, 25 years ago. It was a long time ago, but
we always have burglars around us, especially when you're going to Spain, for example, or in South countries. But also, we have it, but it's not very common. But in that ages, it could be. It could be. Amber is being reproduced in so many ways that you cannot actually sometimes see that it's a real one or not. And the same is with meteorites, actually. When I went to Shanghai and presented my jewelry collection, I've created a jewelry pendants with a meteorite, like a meteors encrusted with 23 karat gold inlay of lava drops. And I've presented them, and everyone came and, is it real? Is it real? Because they're afraid, because they could be faked, and because but now China is growing, and the copying thing of that we've had before, that there's some, like, their technology is really, really fast, and now it's a bit different than it was before. It's for them, copying was something that you were looking at some master's work from US, Europe, and then you can copy it and you can say that it's okay. But now totally changing, and you can see the technologies that are no one been done before, and they are doing very fast. They released non-human railway of 100 more kilometers just done without any human hand. And wow, some of those things that you can just, and we need to work and to be on the edge of not extinction, but living in this world which is rapidly growing really, really fast.
We all benefit from it to a certain extent. So listen, Rapolas, as we should plan to be wrapping this up at this point, I always like to throw it back to my guests to say, is there a question or a topic that you had, when thinking about this discussion, you had hoped we would discuss today that maybe didn't come up? And I give the last topic to you. Is there something you would like to discuss together? Or
I don't know. It was a fantastic conversation, Jamie, and I'm really glad that you invited me, and I'm open to talk with you anytime. I think this conversation was really pleasant, and we talked about some things that I thought we will not talk, because I just didn't thought we will talk, and we gained some experience from each other, and that's very nice. Thank you very much.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Rapolas, for being on Life with Strings Attached. I really love the thinking behind your work and the things that you're doing. It's inspiring for me. Thank you for making inspiring guitars, for not just doing what has been done, but to show us new possibilities. The world is definitely a better place because of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Jim.
Appreciate
Glad
that.
to see you.
Now, for those listening, Rapolas and I are going to continue to talk for just another 2 or 3 minutes on the business of guitar. We do the business of guitar behind a paywall, frankly, on Patreon, so that we can talk about things in an open way that maybe people who aren't in the guitar business shouldn't hear about. So if you're in the guitar business and you want to hear a little guitar business talk from Rapolas, who has a very interesting experience and background and a different approach to the business of guitar, please go over to patreon.com/business of guitar. Again, that's patreon.com/business of guitar. And Rapolas and I will talk another few minutes there. So this concludes this part of Life with Strings Attached. Thank you so much for being on the show, Rapolas.
Thank you, Jim. Pleasure.
Bye for now. Ciao. You've been listening to Life with Strings Attached. If today's conversation meant something to you, consider passing it on. These stories find their place through the people who share them. A new episode comes out every Friday, right here, wherever you're listening. I'm Jamie Gale, and thanks for listening to Life with Strings Attached.